Hello, and welcome to this quick Salesforce app and web merge demo. Today, we're going to be covering a use case where a customer may want to generate a couple documents in a triggered email based on a form that they have embedded on their website. Which is looking to gather the information of prospective clients or customers. So today what we're going to be dealing with is a scenario where we want that form filled out, and when the prospective customer fills it out, it generates a brand new lead within Salesforce. Now keep in mind, this doesn't have to be lead. You can make it opportunity, you can make it an account, however your business works, it's up to you. But for this sake, we're going to use lead. So when this form is submitted, it is going to trigger a brand new lead to be generated within Salesforce. And then what I want is an email to be fired off to the prospective customer. Now I want that to be personalized, so it'll have their first and last name based on what they put in the form. And then I'm also going to want it to look really clean, tell them that sales is going to be reaching out to them shortly. And then I also want a couple documents to be attached to it. One is I want them to have a PDF copy of everything that they filled out here so they have for their records. But then what I also want, based on my form, is I want another document to be generated that is going to have some helpful links based on the products that they say that they need. So how this should work is we have our form here, and I have it already pre-filled out, a quick form that we created. And it has all the customers' information from their company, the industry they're in, if they're decision makers, so position the company, the entire contact information. I then down here have our products needed. And so I've selected a couple that I know that I want. And then I went ahead and added a CAPTCHA. So that way I can stop the fake lead spamming on my website. So when I hit submit, what should happen is it should trigger a brand new email to come in. So we get, okay, thank you for your inquiry. And then when I go into my inbox, I should have an email. Occasionally, this can take a few extra seconds to kick in than a normal email trigger throughout Salesforce because it is generating those documents and attaching it to the email. But there we go, not very long at all. All right, so thank you for your inquiry. We open it up. Maya Ball, thanks for reaching out to us. It talks about our sales representative. Now, the big piece is it has our information for our company. And then down below, here's our two documents. Great. So I open up the first one. Okay. It has all the information that they entered in. Awesome. And it talks about their description. Now, the second one. Now, remember, because I selected two products, I selected our Salesforce app and I selected our web merge as the products I wanted. Well, I was able to set up a document using conditional logic within the merge fields of this document, which I will show you how that works a little bit later in this demo. It only triggers those sections that I have laid out in this document. So you don't have a whole giant heaping list of help articles that your customer just aren't going to find useful because they're not products they care about. So this allows you to tailor a really clean looking solution where, okay, not only did you generate me a personal email, but you gave me a couple documents that gives me something from my records, but also gives me something to kind of look at before we meet, which is really nice. So the question is, how do we do this? So the first thing that I've always kind of found to do, which is really helpful, is since we're dealing with the lead object, is to make sure that you have all the particular fields within your lead the way that you want to. So if there's any custom objects that you want to create or custom fields that you want to create, it's really good to go ahead and do that beforehand. Just get those already set up in that lead object. For me, I went ahead and did that. I already have it set up that I went ahead and did the products needed, and I did it as a multi-pick list. And just because I want to be able to use that as some conditional logic on one of my documents for our merge fields. And that way I'm able also, if I want to, I can route it to a particular sales depending on the products. And I really streamline that customer process. So the first thing we want to do after you've created those that custom fields within that within the lead object or the opportunity, whatever you decide to use, is you want to go and make sure that you have both the form stack and the web merge application downloaded within Salesforce. If you don't have them, no problem. Go ahead and visit the App Exchange and search for both web merge and form stack. Once you have them installed, go ahead and click on the applications and we can get started. So we'll start in web merge. The first thing we want to do is we want to go to our documents here and we want to do a new document. So Once we have a new document, I've created the two that we're looking at. So the first thing that I had was that lead generation. So if I click on that particular document, I can go in and there's some different options I have, but one of them is manage file. So now to get that document, I can either create it here within WebMerge, or you can create it outside in Word or Excel, whatever you choose, and then actually import it in. Now, one of the things I found that's really helpful is using Microsoft Word. You could do this how you want, but with Word, I find that I'm able to really set up the structure of how I want that document to look, and I can also then turn it into a PDF. I can add graphics on it, and I can make it out the way I want to, but that's a personal preference. So I can go into Edit in Office Online, and when I look, I already have my logo on there, which I've added, and then all these particular fields. So based on what I'm going to have within that lead object, I need those particular answers that are going to come from the form to be merged onto this document. So I just want to align how I have this written out with how it is on my form. So company, or how I have it in the object for my lead object. So company name, you just do some basic coding. You have your brackets, $. I do is company name. Position in company, same deal. I just called it title, first name, and so on and so forth, and all the way down to the end. So really simple. And now you have your merge field set up within your document. Once you're done, it does an auto save for you, so you don't need to look for a save button. Go ahead and exit out. And then the second document that I wanted to deal with was I wanted to be able to do some helpful links. So on this particular one, when I click on it, and I did this in Word, I brought it in, but I can still go ahead and manage it directly here online. On this one, this will take if you're really wanting to do some conditional logic, this is going to take a little bit more work. I'm going to give a high level of how this goes through, but we'll have some more in-depth, and there's some within our WebMerge help tools that really talk about conditional logic, and that really gives you the fine nitty-gritty details of how this all works. So for this particular one, I just have it basically set up as if statements, that if the product needed, because remember, the big thing that's going to trigger this is going to be based on what they choose in the product needed section of my form. So I have it that if the product needed is FormStack Forms, this is what it should generate. But if this is also product needed as Salesforce app for FormStack, then this is what I generated, and so on and so forth down through WebMerge and through our other, and whatever other product that you choose to do. And then we want to finish it off just to kind of close the loop here. So once again, once you have it on here, you can go ahead and close out. Now, it should be noted, right now I have multiple documents, but if you want to just send one, you're not looking for multiples, that's perfectly fine. You can actually go in within this document. You can click on your delivery option here, and you can set up a new delivery. So you could set up to send out by email. There's a bevy of ways that you can send out. So you can have it send to Dropbox. If you take a look through, there's lots of different ways that you can have this document delivered. But for this sake, we're doing an email. So if you just want to do one document at a time, this is where you would go. But for the sake of this demo, what we're really wanting to do is we want to go through and we want to have multiple documents. So how do we do that? Well, the best thing for us to do is we want to go into data routing. So when you click on data routing, which is right next to documents, you want to do new data route. And when you do the new data route, it's going to take you into this section right here. And so we want to go through and we want to kind of adjust a few tabs. So one would be our rules. We want to go into rules, and the first thing is I want to pick the documents that I'm using. So number one, rule one is, well, I want to go ahead and pick that lead generation document that we just created. Great, I have that. I don't have any additional conditions that I need. I just want it to just say, hey, generate this document and also generate this other one. But you could add conditions that based on particular settings and fields, it could generate this or not. For this to make it simple, I just have it pull this document, and then rule number two, pull that other document that we did. Now, as soon as you're done there, we want to go to the deliver piece. Deliver. Now, this is where we want to go ahead and set up. So I did new delivery. I already have generated an email. So within my email, you have a couple options here. So we are sending via email. You can either do it by specific email, but in this case, it doesn't make a lot of sense, right? We need it to be more dynamic. So you can actually do it based on merge field. Well, that merge field is based on this the particular setup that since we're dealing with our lead object. So it's going to pull all those things from lead. So I can just choose email. All right, it's good. For the send email from, I'm going to have it be a specific email, but you can change that and just on merge field as well. But I have it that, hey, I'm the rep or I'm the person that's going to be reaching out. I want it sent to me, great, or from me. And then so I have my subject. And then you could do a text email, or if you want, you have a source ability here and you can insert. I did an HTML just because I wanted to be able to add a quick signature and I wanted to add our logo. And then because we're dealing with the lead and we're going to be gathering that information from the form that's going to go in and create a new lead, I can actually then insert a new merge field for the first name and last name so we can personalize that email. It's a nice little touch and makes the customer really feel good that, all right, hey, they're addressing me personally and they're going to reach out to me. So once you have that email set up, you just want to scroll down to the bottom and say Save Delivery. And then once we're done, the big thing we want to do is we want to go in now and we want to be able to go into our mappings. So web merge mappings. This is based on, since we've created our data route, we need to be able to map what each one of the fields within our documents, what that looks like. So when we click on this particular new data route, we can name it however we want. I just have it as helpful links, but it's up to you what you want to name it. Give it a description. What's our Salesforce object that we're dealing with? Well, it's lead. Okay, great. Now, are we dealing with a single document or are we dealing with that route? Well, we're dealing with a route. Well, what's the route that we're dealing with? Oh, well, we just created our route. So you have your lead generation, which is the one that we just created here. Excellent. You have some optional settings. And then we want to go down. And in our field mapping, we just want to make sure that we map the names of the web merge fields with the Salesforce fields. Pretty simple, straightforward. When you go into it, it's going to give you a drop-down box with every single one. Just match them up with the lead object, so that way every single thing's done. Now, if you notice, remember I created that custom field, product needed. Well, it's products needed, so it was mapped because I created that. Custom field within the lead object. So once I've mapped everything, so we know it's all good, then we just click Save. And now the big thing, and really, honestly, the easiest step is just creating our quick form. So now we just want to go over to the Salesforce application. So when we click on it, it'll take us right in. And now for the sake of this demo, I went ahead and already created a lead generation form here. So pretty simple how this is going to work. We know that it's all based on the primary object lead. So when we create this form here, you're going to have a couple different fields, really, literally just a couple. You're going to have your lead objects and your general fields. So when we go into lead, I'm able to go through and I can drag and drop anything from that lead object into this form. So the first name, last name, email, street, city, you name it. And then since I created that custom field, there we go, products needed. I can drag and drop that over as well. Then as well, what are you looking to do? I could drag that over. On any one of these particular fields, I can also just change the name. So sure, it says, what are you looking to do? But if I go into that field, I can actually adjust this to say anything I want it to. So it's all customizable, so that way you can make your form look however you need to, and it can say, so same as the top here, it says customer info. I can drop that field down and I can change this to say anything. Maybe it's customer lead information. It's whatever you decide. And then I also went in under our general fields. We have a few other options here. I went ahead again, I added that CAPTCHA. It's just so that when somebody visits my site, I can make sure that it's not a bot. I'm not just getting spam leads coming in. They're actually human beings. And then you can adjust things like what the submit button says and the message they get, just all under your form settings. I can actually have submit label as submit, but I could say thank you. I can go in here when they display the confirmation pop-up, thank you for your inquiry, but it can say anything you want. And then I know that it's also going to be generating a new lead that's in here. So once you have your form created, we have our documents created, we have our data routing, and we have our delivery method. the big thing is okay, how is Salesforce going to know to do this? Well, the form's already built in and it's linked to our lead. So, okay, so when the form submits, it is now it's generating the lead. But now we have to be able to trigger it to do that merge with our documents. So the final step that you want to do is you want to go into your Salesforce and you want to go into Process Builder. When you're in Process Builder, if you've ever used it before, it's pretty simple. There's just a small difference with using WebMerge, and I'm going to show you how that looks. So with the Process Builder, we're dealing with lead because that is our object that we have decided. But again, it could be opportunity, it could be account, contact, whatever you decide. And then only when a record is created. This is only for new leads. This is not to update it, but if you need it when a record is created or edited, that's an option for later down the road if you choose. And then what I want it to do is I want it to trigger documents. I don't have any criteria. I just want to execute an action. I just want it to generate these documents. So I will go ahead and click no criteria. And then the immediate action is I need document generation. I went ahead and I did it as the action name is document generation. And then the field that I'm going to be using is going to be called an Apex call. So when I click on Apex call, the Apex class, if you just type generate document, or just start GEN, it'll autofill, generate document, it's going to give you this next set of fields here, set Apex variables. There's two things you need to complete this process and we're done. One is we need the web merge mapping ID, which is a string value. And then the Salesforce record ID, we want to change that to field reference, right? Because we're dealing with the lead object. So change that to field, make it lead. Now, how do we find the value for our web merge mapping ID? No problem. All we have to do is go back to our mapping. Remember when we were in web merge? We were in web merge mappings. Well, if you look at the very top of the mapping of our data route that we had created, it has this mapping ID. So all you have to do is copy that, take it back over to your process builder, go ahead and paste it in there, save it, and hit activate. From that point, what you have is that when that email is, or when the form is created here, and it's filled out, it's submitted, it's going to automatically generate a lead. So let's do that real quick. Let's go back into our leads. Okay, so I had already submitted one form at the beginning. So let's go ahead and refresh our leads. There we go. All that information that was in there. So when I click on my lead, I should have a few different things underneath my details. Great. Yep, I have the owner on there. I have the form ID. Excellent. I have the address. There it is, the description I would love to see, and also the products needed. It's already on there. So the lead generated, and we know that the email then triggered, which gave both documents, so the information that they filled out on the form, as well as the helpful links.